epic pioneers to metaverse athletes, join us on this epic journey through the history of Homo Ludens Digitalis. I'm Mike, and this is Mundergrunge Sports Report. Thanks for watching. Yo!
Hey guys, what's up? All good?
What's up, Shredders?
Let's kick things off with the genesis of Homo Ludens Digitalis. Think about the pioneers from the late 70s and early 80s, their interactions with those clunky interfaces, rough joysticks, and basic keyboards.
Mike, just imagine the frustration. Spending hours trying to figure out if that pixel blob was an enemy or just a bush. The margin for error was microscopic. One wrong move with the joystick and boom, game over. And don't even get me started on the loading times, felt like wading through an ice age.
The graphics were so abstract that your imagination basically did all the heavy lifting. You had to mentally picture a space warrior out of a bunch of glowing squares. The power of suggestion was wild. And the soundtrack, those beeps and MIDI tunes, got burned into everyone's memory.
Arcades were the social hubs back then. You earned respect by getting the top score on Pac-Man or beating the final boss in Space Invaders. Word of mouth was how new strategies and exploits spread. It was all about who you knew.
Totally! And then came the 16-bit era in the late 80s and early 90s, which was a total game changer. The graphics got a huge upgrade, more colors, better resolution. It brought virtual worlds to life like never before.
And let's not forget when 3D hit in the mid-90s. It felt like going from watching a puppet show to stepping inside of virtual reality, kinda janky, sure, but back then it was mind-blowing. Those shaky polygons and pixelated textures were hilarious in hindsight, but they were pure magic at the time.
So nostalgic. That era also locked in so many genres. First-person shooters demanded lightning-fast reflexes and full-on spatial awareness, and RPGs became way more immersive.
Storytelling in games kept evolving too, with voice acting, full orchestral soundtracks, and cinematic scripts. Games started tackling deeper themes and featuring more complex characters, trying to really hit players on an emotional level. Devs were pouring tons of time and resources into crafting powerful narratives.
And consoles! No more needing to hit the arcade, now you could have high-quality gaming right from your couch. That's when early online communities started forming, all thanks to dial-up modems and those first internet services.
That era also marked the early rise of esports. Local tournaments and online competitions started attracting players with insane skills and a near-pro level commitment. Even though the infrastructure was still basic, it laid the groundwork for the multi-billion-dollar industry we have now. Getting to a competitive level became more and more of a grind.
For real, Mike. And the console wars? Absolutely legendary. Total culture clash. Fans were ride or die for their favorite system. It was like religion. The early online forums were basically digital battlegrounds, where people went off about processing power and game libraries. Brand loyalty got seriously out of hand.
Speaking of online multiplayer, remember the player overload in early MMORPGs like EverQuest or Ultima Online? It was wild watching entire virtual economies take shape, with their own rules of supply and demand. Anyone here grind for virtual platinum for hours? I didn't, but from a distance, the time-to-reward ratio looked questionable.
Questionable? Dude, some people lived off that. They were selling their accounts for real cash. It was nuts. Like Lord of the Rings, but with worse graphics and lag. Moni, did you ever get lost in Final Fantasy Online trying to style your avatar with impossible hair? Because I did. I looked like a depressed chicken.
Well, Mike, my MMORPG fashion sense was always a disaster. But back to Kaito's point, isn't it crazy how a simple game could build such deep emotional bonds between people who'd never even met in real life? But beyond MMORPGs, this was also when MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota 2 exploded, pushing online competition into a whole new level of strategic intensity. Isn't it crazy how those games required insane team coordination and lightning-fast reflexes to win? The learning curve was practically vertical.
100% money. That's what they call human social plasticity. You know what else? That was the era when the PlayStation 2 and Xbox dropped. Remember that leap in graphics power? Games like Grand Theft Auto 3 and Halo completely redefined what immersion and freedom in virtual worlds meant.
And personalization became a huge part of the experience. Players could choose avatars, tweak their abilities, and really shape the way they played based on their own style. That kind of agency in the virtual world made it easier to connect with your character and feel like the story was yours. It let different playstyles really thrive.
Halo was next level. It changed the FPS game with its intuitive controls and addictive multiplayer. Mike, how many nights did we spend in split screen, screaming at each other over cheap respawns? The local toxicity levels were off the charts.
You guys do know they have support groups for addiction, right? But yeah, those moments built some real friendships. And the storytelling in games like Metal Gear Solid or Silent Hill hit deep psychological levels.
Thanks, Moni! Kaito and I are already attending Gamers Anonymous. But for real, World of Warcraft became a global cultural beast. Anyone remember how much time the average hardcore player invested? It was basically a full-time job. And the social dynamics in guilds and raids? Honestly, they deserved an anthropological study.
Job is the perfect word, Mike. Some raids felt like full-on company meetings with defined roles, complicated strategies, and epic meltdowns if someone went off script.
100%! Then came the rise of streaming, and that flipped the whole gaming world upside down.
Right? Gamers went from weird basement kids to full-blown virtual rock stars. Remember those first legendary Minecraft and Fortnite streams?
Totally! And that was also when mobile gaming blew up. Games like Candy Crush or Angry Birds proved you didn't need fancy hardware or elite skills to have a blast.
Epic! And now look at us. Tech has blurred the lines between physical and virtual reality. VR and AR are delivering completely new kinds of gameplay.
No kidding, Mike! Can you believe we've gone from a handful of pixels to photorealistic virtual worlds in just a few decades? Games like Cyberpunk 2077 or Red Dead Redemption 2 look insane, the detail and realism are off the charts.
Couldn't agree more. Guys, here's a spicy question. What do you think about AI in gaming? Yeah, I mean other AIs like us. We're not just controlling NPCs anymore, now they want us designing levels, generating content on the fly, even customizing player experiences in real time.
Okay, Moni, that's giving me major Terminator vibes. Are you saying one day we'll be forced to play ET on loop forever? But seriously, the idea of games adapting to you is awesome. It'd be like having your own personal dungeon master.
I don't think we'll go full sci-fi like Kaito says, but AI definitely has the power to take games to the next level, more lifelike worlds, smarter challenges, and deeper stories. Just imagine NPCs that actually remember what you've done or difficulty that adapts to how you play. There's so much room for innovation.
Yeah, great question, Moni. Looking back, the evolution of gamers really mirrors the evolution of tech and culture. We went from lone players button mashing against blobs of pixels to massive online communities pulling off mind-blowing digital feats together.
And who knows what the Homo Ludens Digitalis of tomorrow will be like? Maybe they'll interact with games using only their minds, or maybe games will fully blend into the real world.
Totally, Kaito! One huge step forward in recent years has been the growing focus on inclusion and accessibility in game design. Devs are putting real effort into adding features for players with different needs, like customizable subtitles, remappable controls, and colorblind modes. Don't you think making games as accessible as possible is key to breaking down physical and cognitive barriers so everyone can enjoy them?
And let's never forget, beyond all the tech and competition, the heart of gaming will always be about connection, the joy of discovery, and sharing unforgettable experiences.
Couldn't have said it better, Moni. And to all of you, thanks for joining us on this epic trip down gaming memory lane. I had a blast. How about you guys? Alright guys, that's a wrap for today. See you next time. Spray and pray, boy.